Okay, welcome once again to Philosophy Online Lecture. Today we are looking at Don Scotus, a medieval philosophy. We are still on medieval philosophy, and we are looking at Don Scotus. Don Scotus was born in 1265. He was a priest, a Catholic priest, a professor, and a theologian. He opposed a lot of Aquinas' works, and somehow he agreed with some, but he opposed a lot of it. And let's go straight into his work. He said that the human intellect can only know being as being. Either the being is infinite or finite. As long as it is being, that is what our intellect can know. Okay. He said that we cannot have a natural knowledge of God. And why is this so? Because our intellect can only grasp uh, things through the senses. Okay. Our intellect is directed towards the senses, but when we get to heaven and have a direct contact here, then we can have a natural knowledge of God. But here we cannot have a natural knowledge of God. Okay, so he was opposing Thomas Aquinas, who said that immaterial things can be known. Okay, so like I said, he opposed Aquinas in a lot of ways. Okay, now he said that the intellect can know both universal and particulars too. Okay, he was opposing Aquinas by saying that who said that the intellect can only know particulars. Okay, and the universals are only known through what we picture in particulars. To to Don Scotus, this is not so. The intellect can know both universal and particulars. It can know particulars through direct intuition. It can know universals through abstraction. Okay, so moving further, Don Scotus defined the metaphysics as the science of being as being. Okay, he defined it as the science of being as being, but being itself does not have a definition because being embraces all the concepts of things that exist. Okay, so because being embraces a lot of concepts of things that exist, we cannot attach a definite uh, meaning to being. Okay, now he said that the concept of being is univocal. He was contradicting Aquinas, who said that uh, when we predicate things to God and to man, we are not predicating them in univocal way, but in analogical way. If you have listened to our tutorial on Thomas Aquinas, you get this in man.
One of
I
those
think
ways
man
he
knowledge
opposed
of
Thomas
God.
Aquinas
Okay,
is where
so
he said that the
moving on,
intellect
he said that
can
the
know
concept
both
of being
universal and
is
particulars.
what
Aquinas
univocal and
originally
not
said that
analogical.
the
Okay, why
intellect
did
can
he
only know.
say this? He said that when we attribute predicate things to both God and man, we have to do it in the same way and the same meaning. Because if we do not do it this way, then how does it make sense that we are talking of or arguing from creatures to God? It will not be possible because we are actually giving different meaning. We are not applying like let's say man is good and God is good. Okay, so when we say that we are not doing this the same way to both, we are not using good the same way and the same meaning the way we are doing it to man and to God, then it doesn't make sense to say that we are talking about God and man. But if we are saying it in the same way and the same meaning, then it makes sense that we are arguing from God to his creations. Okay, so that is another way he contradicted Thomas Aquinas. And now he agreed with Aquinas on the fact that there is nothing like innate ideas. Both of them disagree with St. Augustine that they are innate ideas. Okay, so he agreed with Aquinas here. Because to him, like I said before, the knowledge comes through the senses. Our intellect is directed towards the senses. Okay, so they disagreed on anything like innate ideas. Okay, so he also disagreed with Aquinas. His agreement with Aquinas was much. I don't know the problem they had. Okay, so moving further, he disagreed with Aquinas by saying that essence and existence are not different; they are the same. Aquinas said essence and existence are different. Okay, but to Don Scotus, essence and existence are not different. He also opposed Aquinas by saying that matter can exist without form. Okay, so Aquinas said that matter cannot exist without form, and form cannot exist without no, form can continue existing, but matter cannot exist without form. Okay, but it's just like saying that our body cannot exist without our soul. Okay, so to Dos Scotus, he said that matter can exist without form. For if Aquinas and Aristotle had claimed that matter receives form, if they claim that matter receives form, that means matter had been pre-existing logically before form. Okay, so if it has been pre-existing logically before form, that means it can exist without form. Okay, so it's just like I'm not saying it's the same thing like the body. Okay, and then God said uh, the body should receive the bread of life. Okay, but the body has been existing before it receives that soul. That is what a little explanation of what Don Scotus is saying. Okay, now he went on to disagree that the soul is not the only form of the body. Okay, and just like a philosopher also, Saint Bonaventure said that there are plurality of forms. Okay, the body has its own form. We are still on this matter and form. The body has its own form. Okay, and the form of the body is that form of the corporeal, right? Then the body now has another form, which is the rational soul. Okay, so the body has plurality of form, that is that of the body itself and that of the rational soul. Okay, so let's see another area where he agreed with uh, Aquinas. He agreed with Aquinas in rejecting the Augustinian seminal reason. The Augustinian seminal reason was part of his proof for the existence of God, where he said that God inputs in every of his creation a gem, GERM. That gem is what is lead to further development, further creations of other being, like every human has that gem that we're able to reproduce. Okay, same with trees, same with every creations of God. Okay, so he joined hand with Aquinas to rubbish this. That's no, we do not agree with this. He also rejected and Aquinas. Okay, he agreed with Aquinas by rejecting Avero's common intellect, that all humans on earth have a common intellect. He disagreed with this too. Okay, and he and Aquinas also agree that the human soul is a rational soul. Okay, that our soul is a rational one, that can think, that's capable of thoughts. Okay, so it is rational and it also transcends matter. It is above matter. Okay, so the soul, the rational soul, goes beyond the power of the senses, and the our rational soul perform two function, that of the sensitive function and intellectual activity in man. Okay, so those are some areas where he agreed with Aquinas. There are lots. Okay, some others include that the human person is made of body and soul. Okay, and like Aquinas also, he agreed that our knowledge of God are imperfect, as they are gotten through experience. I think I said this when I was starting, that we cannot have the knowledge of God through experience. Okay, and our ideas of attributes that we attach to God are also imperfect because they are gotten from experiences. Okay, so that is some areas where he agreed with uh, Thomas Aquinas. Okay, so moving further, he on the existence of God, he agreed with St. Thomas Aquinas had various arguments. He shows that of the contingency of being. He agreed with it. The contingency of being, and that contingent being and not necessary being. They get their existence from outside. This outside where they get their which is the source of their existence, is the necessary being. Okay, and he also agreed with Thomas Aquinas' argument proof for the existence of God, which is that of order. For the fact that there are order in the world, prove that there is one intelligent being, which is the cause of this order. Okay, and that is those areas where he agreed. Okay, on the existence of God. Now, his own original proof for the existence of God is that the human heart naturally love the infinite good. Our heart has that natural love for the infinite good, and that infinite good can only be satisfied by God. So therefore, God exists. Okay. So now let's go back to some other ways where he disagreed with Thomas Aquinas. On ethics, he disagreed with Aquinas that the will must give assent to this thing called sunum bonum. Sunum bonum means the highest good an action is directed to. Okay, to him, the will must not necessarily give assent to this. The will has a choice to either give assent or not, because to Don Scotus, the will is greater than the intellect, and the will controls the intellect. But in Thomas Aquinas, we read that the will should always listen to the intellect. Okay, so it is the intellect that guides the will to Aquinas, but to Don Scotus, the will is greater than the intellect. And why did he say so? He said that if we look at the corruption of the will, it is worse than that of the intellect. Like hate is worse than ignorance. Hate is of the will. Ignorance is of the intellect. We know. And also, if we see that love is superior to knowledge, to Don Scotus, love is superior to knowledge, or maybe he didn't eat breakfast. You know, like okay. So let's move further. So still on ethics, he agreed, like Thomas Aquinas, that a morally right action must conform to reason. That is, every action must conform to right reason. And he also held that we must put into consideration that an action, the intention of the action, and the circumstances of the action must have objective good. That is, they must be objectively good. Okay. Uh, However, although the end of an action, to Don Scotus is speaking on his own now, should be considered. It is not the most important. That is, the end of an action should be considered, but it is not the most important because to him, the end doesn't justify the means. Other circumstances should be considered. Okay, so he now said that uh, where circumstances should not be considered is unto action. That is hatred for God. To him, there is no justification to hate God, and the love of God is good in all circumstances. The hatred of God is bad in all circumstances. Okay, now he disagreed with Aquinas that they are morally that there are no morally indifferent action. Aquinas said that an action is either good or bad. To Scotus, there are some actions that are morally indifferent. Okay, there are some spontaneous actions that we do not have a moral motive before doing them. Okay, so those are what he was talking about. And also, he disagreed with Aquinas that the most and the first fundamental principle is to do good and avoid evil. To him, that is not the first and fundamental principle of morality. The first and fundamental moral principle to Don Scotus is to love God. Is to do what? To love God. Now, moral obligation is derived from divine will. That is, the best action must conform to the love of God. Okay, so that is on Don Scotus, and we're sure we have covered a lot on how he agreed and disagreed with Thomas Aquinas, and you could see some of his original ideas too. Thank you so much for listening to. Please do subscribe and turn on notification.